Hello everyone, I'm Raghav and hope you all are doing good. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Raghav. I am co-team member here at GTSC Amity and I'm also Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador. So today we are back with another session on how you can create web apps using React.js. So this seems interesting, right? So today for this session we have with us Pranav. Pranav is an incoming scholar at SAP Labs and mentor in multiple open source organizations. And he's also runner-up at NWOC 20 held at IIT Patna. So here, hello Pranav, how are you?
Hello everyone, I'm good. Raghav, how are you?
I am also doing great. So
Okay,
it would be great if you can introduce yourself a little bit.
sure. Uh, Hello everyone, I'm currently in my final year pursuing BTech in computer science. I recently got into the scholar program at SAP Labs. I have also been involved in a lot of open source programs, and I am also runner-up of the Agile Mentor of Code at IIT Patna. So that's my introduction. I'll hand it over to you now.
Yeah, so thank you Pranav for this introduction. So now we'll be beginning without taking much of your time, and so
Sure.
we'll be beginning with our session now. So Pranav, you can
Yeah,
share your screen.
sure.
So till then, feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat. And
Mm.
Pranav, can you give us a little bit hint about what we are going to learn in this session?
Exactly. Yeah, I was just about to do that. First of all, is my screen there? It's
Yeah, I'll just bring it up. Yeah, it's
cool.
visible now.
No, you can hide it for now. Okay, I'll continue with it. So
Okay.
just hide it for a couple of minutes. I just want to introduce the app and then we can
Okay.
continue. Yeah.
Okay.
So today I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty details. We just want to straight up take up an application. We I have chosen an API for you all. We'll basically cover all the React concepts with the help of the API and build a web app using it. Okay. So I'll share all the links for the APIs as well as all the documentations that is required for building the app. And uh, let's get into it. I can is there anyone who is like experienced in React? Just write in the chat if you are. Like
Yeah, it will
what
be
do you
really
rate? Yeah,
helpful for us.
it
If
would
you can
be.
stay active in the
Yeah, I want
chats.
to know what is the demographic, so that way I can curate my session as well. So if anyone is watching, just write in the chat what do you rate yourself in React out of 10. That will give me an idea. If not, this is also fine. But yeah, okay. So we'll wait while if anyone is there, they'll write in the chat. And also, I want to tell that we'll be covering all the hooks. So we'll be covering all the different hooks along with the you know fetching as well as the get and post request in APIs. So that if anyone is watching for that, we'll be covering most of the hooks and I'll explain each and everything. So don't need to worry about it. Yeah, you can just add my screen. Uh,
Okay, yeah.
should we wait a
So
couple minutes for people to come or can we start?
I think we can start now. People who are
Cool.
not able to watch us right now, they can
Okay.
see it
Yeah,
later
they can
on.
see it
So
later. Yeah.
we can start. Yeah, we can
Sure.
start the session. So I hope your
Okay.
screen is visible now.
Yeah, my screen is it's visible on my laptop, but I can see it on my.
Yeah,
Okay, it's not.
it
It's
takes a
visible.
little bit of lag. Yeah.
Got it. So I'll just show. Uh,
So I'll just take myself off the stream. So over to you, Pranav now.
okay. Okay. So guys, I've just created a simple React app. I bootstrapped it using the create React app. So I'm using Yarn today. If you are using npm, just run. Let me just show you the command. Uh, so if you're using npm, just uh, so you can just run npx create React app. hope it's visible now. Just a second. I'll adjust it. Okay, it's visible. So you can just, for those using npm, you can just run npx create React app and just add the name of your application. For now, I'm naming it kickoff because we are using a football-based API. So Rahul, can you please put the API links, top two API links on the chat so that if anyone is following along, they can also use it. Yeah, and the second one as well. Okay. So the API links are in the chat if anyone is following along. So this is the basic React app that I've added. I've just added one extra package that is the React Router DOM. So if you want to add, just run yarn add React Router DOM, or you can, if you're using npm, just run npm install and React Router DOM. Okay. So this is a basic create React app template, and only one extra package is added. That is the React Router DOM. Okay. So I've also created a repository for those who want the code for the project. So this is the repository. I'll be making regular commits in this while we during the tutorial. Okay. So this is the repository. I'll also add the link. Trav can add the link in the chat for those who want the code uh, along the way. Okay. Yeah. So this is the repository where I'll be uploading all the code. Let me just copy the SSH link and I'll just set it up as well. So if you see any weird git commands and you're wondering if why isn't it working, I'll just show what is my current aliases. What are my current aliases? I'll just so if you find it difficult to follow along. So yeah, these are my current aliases. You can just take a screenshot, and if you're finding it difficult to understand what am I writing, you can just follow along with this particular template. Okay, these are my aliases. So if you see that uh, if you see any weird commands, I'm using aliases. So yeah, okay, let's exit. Uh, Exit it. I hope you have taken a screenshot of this if you are following along. Okay, okay. So let's begin. I'll just clean up the extra files in the React app template. Some things that we don't need as of now. So I'll just remove these files. Okay. And this. Let's just clean it up a little bit. Let's move this. Let's move the let's import. Okay, I think it's clear. Yeah. So if you're wondering how am I removing, just use the shortcut Control Shift and K. So that will actually remove the whole line. And let's just empty this app CSS. Remove this logo SVG. Index CSS. Okay. So just make the initial commit. I'll just add the origin. So let's take the branch. Okay, we are working with master, so let's do initial commit. Yeah, so the initial commit is done. I'll just show you commit. Yeah, I'm using all the aliases. So if you are wondering what are these commands, you can just check the alias list that I'm currently using. So yeah, just push this template. If you want to use it, if you're following along, you can use this template as well. Yeah. Okay, let's start with the API. So another thing, if you are following along, uh, so this is the API that we're going to use today. This is the football standings API. I'll show you the data that it is carrying right now. So here is the endpoint. So this will be the endpoint. You can use this. It is also in the chat right now. So these are all the details. If you want to go through these, you can definitely check these before starting. I do. I have another way. So yeah, this is actually Json Viewer Pro. If you want to check what data is being fetched, you can just get this Chrome extension. I'll just show you which Chrome extension this is. So this is the Chrome extension Json Viewer Pro. Okay. So this will basically put it in a JSON-like format. All the data that is being fetched from an API, you just put it in the search bar, press enter, and it will show you all the data in a JSON-like format. So this is the basic endpoint. If we click on this leaks, so this is the type of data that we're going to get back. So this extension is very helpful in basically checking what is the type of data, what do we have to extract. Okay. Uh, so we don't have to console log every time. So this is the data that is being returned from backslash leaks, and this is the you can see that the endpoint is also given, and we are also getting an example of the what is being returned. Okay, so this is the leak. This is a specific leak endpoint. This is the leaks endpoint, and this is the standings endpoint for a particular league. And you can also add the season. So currently, as you can see that in the query parameters, it is season 2020 and sort is ascending. Okay. And the last endpoint is the seasons endpoint. So let's check what is being returned. So this is the available seasons standing data. So it's also sorted according to year. So yeah, uh, now that we have seen all the data that is being returned, so let's begin. Okay. So let's create some folders. I want to use the context. So I just add a folder for the context. I want to use the provider and the create context. So I'll just create a context. Let's call it football context. Since this is an application related to football, I'm using the extension JSX instead of JS. So uh, let's start with let's just move the terminal for now. Okay, it's auto importing as well. And now that we have created the context, let's also create the provider. Let's do an arrow function for the provider. And let's do return football context. Let's put it into angle brackets. Football context dot provider and give it a value. We're going to create a value object that I'm inserting it here, and then you can uh, close it. And within the braces, just get a named import of children, get it in the parameters, destructure it, and then just add it in the provider. Yeah, that's the basic configuration. Let's also create an empty object value. created inside the function. It's let be empty for now. Just export the provider. Just make it a normal function so I can export default. Okay, let's make it a normal function so that we can export the default as well. Also export the context. So this is the basic context. I just used create context and created the provider as well. So we are going to add more state in this. Let's just wrap our app in the provider. So football provider. So it will auto import. I just close this. Let's save. Yeah. So as you can see that it is auto formatting. So for that, just using an extension Prettier. If you want to do auto formatting, you can just search for Prettier in the extension, and you can get this particular extension. So I'll close this for now. Okay, let's start with some components and pages, uh, and also we'll start setting up the router. So for setting up the router, just wrap your app in browser router, auto import as well, and just wrap your app in browser router, and now we can start setting up some routes. So you can add a routes. You can use the route keyword. This will auto import. You can just press Control and space to see if it will basically pop up the auto import feature function as well. So I'll just auto import. As you can see that the routes have been imported from React Router DOM. So yeah, routes has been imported. Let's just set up our first route. So release. Let's just go for the home. Let's set the /2. Let's just call it home and use JSX here. So just add home here. Yeah. Okay. It's given an error. And so close it as well. So let's import route. Route is imported. Now we have to create the home component. So let's just add another folder in the source. Let's call it components and also add pages. Pages. And within pages, just add a folder called home. We are adding a folder because I want to basically create a separate CSS and a JSX file for home. And similarly, we can create folders since there were two files for each and every page and component as well. So let's add a home.jsx within the JSX folder, within the home folder, and let's also add home.csx. So I'll just use this command. This is basically a shortcut to get the basic boilerplate code. So if you also want this feature, so just go React. Uh, so yeah, just get this extension ES7 React Redux snippets. Okay, so it will go to this marketplace. You can just get this extension if you want snippets and boilerplate code for your applications. So now that we have created a simple boilerplate, home is being exported. Let's just import it here as well. Yeah, it will auto import. If you want to check the imports, just press Control and space in VS Code if you're using VS Code. Okay, so the home router is set up now. Let's start with the application. Yeah, so let's create a function. I'm going to call it get leaks, and okay, so let's call it get leaks. Add a state. So I'm going to use useState for adding all the states. So let's just create a basic state and call it leaks. So it will say and set it to an empty array. Let's complete this function get leak. So basically, it is going to fetch all the leaks from our API. Let's go to our API. So this is an open API. Don't need to sign up anywhere, or you don't need a key. So the API will just you're able to fetch it without a key. You'll be able to fetch the data without a key. So I'll be using the fetch API that is there in JavaScript. But if you are comfortable working with Axios, you can also use Axios. It's just simple axios.get. So here I'll be using the then and catch. If you are comfortable using async await, you can also go forward with that. But I feel that within this in this particular use case, I think fetch dot then and catch would be much cleaner. So I just load that slash p. Okay, yeah, let's just do then. We'll get the response and another arrow function. So you can return response.json. So response.json also returns the promise. So again, we can use a then block and we get the data. Okay. So let's just check what data we are getting. For now, I'll console log the data and then we can basically catch if we have any error. If error, another error function, and I'll just log the error for now. If you want to handle the error another way, you can just use applications, or you can just use a toast or an alert just like this. If you want to alert the user, you can just use the inbuilt alert, or you can add external toast for showing all the errors. I just use console.log for now. Let's start the application. Okay, so it's taking a bit longer. I think it started. Yeah, so it's let's just move this and within home.jsx, let's just get the context. So just go to football context and create this function. So we don't have to use context everywhere. You can just call this function as well. So get use football context. Okay. So we just call this function everywhere we need. So we can just return use context and pass in our football context here. Let's import use context hook. Use context is important. So why I created this function because so that we don't have to get use context everywhere. We can just pass this function within our value, or we can export it and just put it everywhere. And without using use context, we'll get all the data. We'll destructure all the data from this function itself. Okay. And now let's just check all the data that we are getting. Let's go to home. Let's call the function use football context. So it will auto import all the function. Just get the leaks. Okay. And get the leaks data. Go to your context, get the leaks and pass it in the value object. Okay. So get the set leaks, pass it in the value object, and your get leaks function as well. So yeah, I'll just instead of console logging, let's just set the leaks. So let's just set the leaks to this data. I think we should console log first so that we can basically get the particular data only instead of the whole block. Just console log first. Just open the console. Let's call it in the home component. So I'll use a use effect hook. So this is the basic template for use effect. I'll just import it as well. Yeah. So this use effect will run at each and every render, and you can see that the dependency is array is empty. So it will run only when the component is mounted, and the cleanup function will also run when the component is unmounted. So if you also wanted to run on state changes, we can just add that particular variable to the dependency array. For now, I'll just leave it empty so that it only runs when the component is mounting, and we'll use a cleanup as well when the component is unmounted. So here I'll just call the let's just get this function here. So get leaves, okay, and here I'll just call the get leaves function. Yeah. So I'll call the get leaks function, and this will set me. This will get all the leaks for me. Now we can just log leaks a variable, and within cleanup, what we want to do is when the state is being changed and the component gets unmounted, we don't want our we don't want to update a state after the component is unmounted. That will give us an error. So what we want to do within the cleanup function is we just want to set the leaves to an empty array. So this will basically avoid any errors if the component is unmounted and we are still trying to change the state. So this will avoid those errors. So just add set leaves to an empty array within the cleanup function. So let's check what data we are getting. So this is the data as you can see. I hope this is visible. Let's just let me increase the size. So this is the data that we are getting. Okay. So as you can see that an object is being returned with the status and a data. Data is an array. So let's just go to football context. So now that we know what is the structure, let's update it to set leaks. And let's just do just update this variable to d and get d dot data. So what we are doing is when the response we get from response.json, so this returns a promise and we get the data out of it. So this data that we receive here will be an object. As you can see, it will have a status true and some data which will be an array. So what I'm doing is I'm getting the data out of the object and setting it to the leagues. So leagues is an empty array for now. It is empty array state. So we are setting the leagues at each and every whenever the home component gets mounted. So as you can see that we are calling the get leaks whenever this component gets mounted, and when it is unmounted, we just set the leaks to an empty array to avoid any errors. Now basically we can use all the data from this particular variable in our home component. So yeah, let's start with the application. Let's add a new component called navbar component. And instead of creating a particular file, just add a navbar folder. So we can also add the CSS along with it. So I'll just put the file into the folder. So within the navbar folder, also add a navbar.css file for the styling. So let's just use RAFCE, take a boilerplate. So within this, we can just create a basic navbar. So I'll just use the UL. Let's use li. So within li, I want to use navlink. Okay, so this will come from the React router. Let's get the navlink, and you can just set the path to backslash. So this will be the leaks. So let's just write the heading for it. So write leaks here, and what let's import it. So it's not importing. Let's import it manually. And manually then let's import navlink. Okay. Save this one for now. So within the navbar, let's add a couple more links. So if you want to know the shortcut, just press Alt, Shift, and Down key. So this will basically copy whatever you have selected. So let's get the standings page. Okay, I'm going to write standings. Let's just see the API. So league details and standings. Okay. Okay. So instead of navlink, we'll update this to a separate component. So I'll just remove this for now. Okay. So we just have this leaks in the navbar component for now, and let's just style this as well. I just give it a class. As a navbar. Let's go to navbar.css. So I'll give it navbar UL. I'll just give list style type to be none, and let's give. So what navlink will do? So there are two types of links. There is a navlink and there is a separate like link, right? So what navlink will do is whatever in the navlink, whatever in the navbar will be the active component. It will give it a dot active class. So we can use this dot active class here. So we can just style using this dot active class. We just put dot navbar dot active, and then we can give it some styling. Let's say uh, text decoration to be underlined. So whatever is the current page that is open, it will basically underline the particular link in the navbar component. So I'll also give it a display flex. Yeah. So let's give it a display of flex, and let's give it a justify content space around. So let's start. Let's just add the navbar component in our app. Let's add navbar, auto import, and how we can see an application. Let's go here. As you can see, that the links is coming, but it is not centered. So let's try to do that. Also update this to be li. We should remove this. Okay, it's not removing. Okay, haven't imported it. Okay, as you can see that it is centered now, and when we click it, we basically just direct it to home page, and we are currently at the home path as well. So you can add more links here if you want to. I'll just add one for now. Let's focus on the other core functionalities right now. I'll also increase the font as well. Let's just add a font size to be, let's say, 10 view height. Okay, let's give it 7 view height. Okay, that's okay. Now, and let's begin with the other components. Let's go to home.jsx, and now we can just map our leagues as well. I'll give it a class. Give it leagues, and add a curly brace. So within this curly brace, we can add all the JSX code. So what I'll do is I'll take the leagues and I'll map through the leagues. So leagues is an array, so we can map through it. I'll get the particular league, and for that, I'll just create another component called a card component. So let's go to the components, add a card, and then we can basically send all the leagues data to that card and render all the cards on the home page. Okay. So let's go to the components folder. add a new folder as, let's say, card component. You can say let's say league card. Add a JSX file. So league card.jsx, and also add a CSS for it. Let's just get the basic template. Yeah, so now that we have the template, let's just add all the data here. So I'll just add a span. We'll give it a class name to be league. Add a span. Let's add the image first. The image source. Source is going to be, let's destructure the data here itself. Get the ID, get the logo, name, and get the abbreviation. So how I'm able to derive what this data is? So I just show you the API. So when we go to the leagues, so within the data, you're getting an ID, name, abbreviation, and the logos. So I'll just pass down the data from the home to this league card component, and we'll destructure it here itself. So within the source, I'll just give it a logo page and give it a alt text in case the logo is not working. So let's say league image, and let's save. It's giving us an error. Yeah. Let's add another span tag. We can add a heading here. So let's give it a name. Let's give it abbreviation first, and then let's pass the name. So this would work. Let's go to our home component. Now we can get the cards. League card component into auto import, and we can pass in a key. So when we map through an array, we always require a key to be added to whichever component that we are passing the data to, or whatever we are going to basically have it in the map. So I'll pass a key component. So this will basically the league.id, and we can pass in the logo, which will be league dot let's say logos dot light. Okay, so let me show you where I'm getting this from. So you can see that we have this particular object inside the array. This is the array, uh, data array that we have set to the leagues, and this is the object that we are getting. So this is each and every object that, so we are mapping through the array of objects, and this variable gets each and every object. That is why we are able to get access all the data through dot notation. So we can get league.id and league.logos.light. So this is the data that we are getting from. So logos, so this is league.logos.light. So this is the URL for the particular image. Okay. So let's add the other variables as well. I'll also with the key, I'll also pass in an ID component. So we need an ID component when we want to add a link to the card. So which we'll do later as well. So I'll just add a ID component, ID parameter. So logo is there, and let's add the abbreviation. Give league dot abbreviation. Let's give it a name. Give it league dot name. Let's close the component. So this is being mapped. Let's see how it looks now. Okay, okay. So there are no errors in the console. As you can see that all the images, the abbreviations, and the name of the leaf is coming. We'll style it now. We'll style it a little bit and see how it looks. Yeah. So let's go to the home dot. Let's import home.css first, and then we'll add the styling. let's say save home.css and add dot leaks, and let me just import all the files first and then we can just, yeah. So let's open home.css and home.jsx. Yeah, only these two files. So within the home.jsx, I've added a class name of leaks here, and we're mapping through each and every leak card, right? So I'll just do this. So add a display flex, give it a flex direction of column, and add a justify content, give it center, align the items to center. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, so it's getting aligned to the center, but we need to style the card component for now. So let's also style the card component. So let's go to the leak card, and within the leak card component, I'm given a class name of leak. Okay. So just give me, yeah. Let's remove the space here. Yeah. Within the leak card CSS, just use the not leak class. Uh, in that, get the image tag, and let's give the height and width to the image. Let's give it the height of 50 pixels and a width of 50 pixels. Okay. Let's refresh. Okay, we haven't imported. Let's just import .css. See if it looks. So it looks better, but let's just increase the size of the image. Let's take it to 7 view height. We can just say let's give it 80 pixels by 80 pixels. See, okay, a bit more. Yeah, looks better. And let's just try 10 view height. It looks more. So let's get to the leak. I'm going to give it a display of flex, and let's add a border and just say give it 5 pixel, solid black. Let's also give a border radius of 10 pixels, and let's give justify content, give it space evenly. Now let's see our cards. Okay, they look much better. So let's give it a particular width to each and every card. So let's give it a width of, let's say, 40 view width. Okay, the cards look better now. Instead of 40, let's go with 60. Okay, look better. Let's give it a margin of 2 view height. Yeah, look better. Now that we have added a margin, let me show you the complete application. So this is our current version, right? Also align the items to be center. So this will make all the abbreviations and name to be center aligned, as you can see within the box itself. So yeah, this looks much better now. Okay, so let's start with the other routes and our other components as well. So I want to click on the abbreviation or the name, and then I want it to be directed to that particular league. Okay, so we are going to create a new page for that. So let's go to the pages and add a new folder. So with the let's call it specific league. Let's be descriptive. Uh, Specific league. So I just make a commit here. I know I skipped a lot of files, but I think we should make a commit. I'll just make a commit here. So let's say feature at the home page and uh, the card and navbar components. So I just want to make a commit in between so that if you're someone who's watching it later, they can track on Git as well. If they want to clone the repo and track along, let's just run the application again. So it's, the development server is starting. For now, let's just start with creating a file in the specific league folder. So let's call it specific league.jsx and add a CSS for it as well. Specific league.css. So let's just add the boilerplate code, add a function. Close it for now. Okay, so specifically, so let's just we'll also add a route for it. Now that so let's add a route for our specific league page. So the path is actually going to be backslash, let's say league ID. So this parameter that we are passing, so what this colon does is we can use the use param hook and we can access this keyword. Basically, it will be a variable that we are going to pass in the URL. So we'll be able to access this keyword using the use param hook when we add this colon. So let's just add the component to be specifically. Okay. So let's go to the specifically component. And what we want here is we just want the data of the specific league that was clicked. So let's just create a new function to get that data. I'll go to the context, and within the football context, I'll add another function. So let's just clone this one first. So with get leagues, just say get specific league data, get specific league, and let's just say we'll pass in a parameter here. Let's make it use dollar curly braces, and you can basically get it from the as an argument. Just name it param. You can get the param, and this gives us the data. So let's just create another use state. So let it call it let's call it specific league. It says at specific league. Instead of having this use state here, we can also have it in the specific league component itself, and we can pass set specifically here. But for now, let's just have it here. Uh, so instead of set specifically, let's just replace this function here, and let's just also pass it in our values and set specifically as well. Okay. So this is being passed in the provider component, and it will be available throughout our application. So let's just first console log the data. I want to see what is the structure for now, and then we can basically replace it again. So get specifically, go to this component, all the function is here as well. So let's call use football context. We use the context it will auto import as well. You want to use the context, I'll get this function here and get specifically and also get the variable for it. Let's get a use effect. So this will basically, if we put the if you have an empty dependency array, it will basically call the function whenever the component is mounted, and we'll also have a cleanup function that will run whenever the component is unmounted. Let's import use effect, and here we can call get specifically. This will set the specifically variable. Let's log it for now. And within cleanup, just set specifically okay, we haven't imported it, so get this set specifically here. So we're going to set this specifically in the cleanup function to be an empty array. So whenever we are updating the state, and in case the function gets unmounted, in case the component gets unmounted, so we're going to set the specifically to empty array. So this will prevent updating a state when the component is unmounted, thus preventing any errors. So let's just see what we are getting in this data. For that, let's just add a link to our home component. So each and every leak card should have a link as well. So let's give it. Let's go to the leak card and add a link. So with the abbreviation, I want to have the link over the abbreviation itself. So let's give a link here. So this will also come from the React router DOM. Add a to parameter. Let's give it a. Let's have the backticks. Let's get the backticks and pass in abbreviation as a parameter. So to get the abbreviation variable, use dollar curly braces, add the abbreviation variable here, and just close the link. Okay. So let's add this text inside the link and just import the link as well. So it will also import from the React Router DOM library. Let's save it. And now that we can see that each and every abbreviation is now a link in itself. So when we click it, now let's check the console. But we are getting an error. So get specifically is not a function. Okay. So I think we are not passing it, passing the function. So let's get this function here. So get specifically, and within here, just pass it abbreviation. Just also get the abbreviation from the link from the URL. So use the use params hook and call it use params and just get. So this use params hook will return an object. We can destructure all the values. So what it will return is this variable right here that we set it in the app component. So with this route, when we set the league ID, so this variable will be there in the object when we call the use params hook. So let's destructure this league ID. Also import use params. Okay. Uh, okay. So there's some issue in importing. Let's just check if we have use params. Yeah. So I'll just get the particular import. So we'll get it from React Router DOM, as you can see. So let's get use params from React router DOM. Now that it's been imported, let's get the league ID, pass it to the get specific league function, and also update the uh, variable name in our context. So here the variable is called param, name it league ID, update it here as well. So let's see what data we get. Okay, so let's just refresh. Let's see. So no match location, as you can see. So let's go to our app component. Let's add a backslash leagues backslash league ID. Okay, so let's uh, not here. When we fetch the data, we just want to fetch it from backslash league ID. Okay, it says uh, no routes match the location. It's going back. So there is some issue with the routes. Let's just call this. Let's just name this the index route, and then we can. Okay. So this is the extra that we have. Okay. Now it should work. It's imported. Let's see again. Refresh. Okay. Now it's working. Okay. So set leak is not a function, and we are not able to get it. Yeah. So let's just go to our specific leak component. Let's debug this component. So we are sending it to backslash leaks, backslash abbreviation, right? So we are getting it as a param, and then let's try to debug this. We are getting the league ID here, and within the specific league, we are getting the league ID. So let's console log this league ID itself. That will give us an idea what is the error. Uh, so, so it says league not found. Yeah. So within the abbreviation, okay. So found the issue. So with don't pass the abbreviation in the link. Just pass the ID. So go to the home component, edit the leak card component. Where you're passing abbreviation, instead pass ID. Okay. So this will basically fix the issue. And when we update, let's go back to leaks. Okay. So we are getting this. Okay. Set leak is not a function. Add home JSX. Okay. Let's go to home JSX. So let's go to football context. So this is set leaks. Let's just update the variable name here, and they should fix it. Let's just fix the typo here, and it should work now. Yeah, so we are getting the parameter as well. So let's just call the API now. It's working fine without any error now. Let's just call the function, get the specific leak data. We can send in the leak ID, and then let's console log. Okay, it says leak not found, and we are sending in undefined. Okay, let's just console log again. So we are getting the parameter is fine, but it says undefined. Wait, I think I found the issue. Let's try to send it as an object, so this should work. So the data is being fetched, as you can see. Now we can just pass it as a card component, or we can have another component for specifically. I'll just create a new component. So now we can see that the specific league, so the specific league variable is getting all the data, and the league ID is also being sent to the get specific league function, where we are fetching all the data for that specific league. So let me show you the API call as well. So this is the get specific league data. This is the API call. We are sending it as a variable. So this variable we are getting from the parameters uh, in the specific league component. So this is the use params hook, and we get the league ID. And this league ID comes from here, the app.js component, where we have set a route with a semicolon. So this will basically get us the name, the variable for the league ID. So let's just map out all the data here. So the leak ID is actually received as an object. So we'll have to update it to an object in the context. Let's just go to the context, set it as an object, and let's go to specifically and remove this console log, remove this console log, and now we can map out the data. So let's just go to the div. I'll give it a class name of specifically. Let's give it a class name. Let's put a span tag and add an image here. So image source will be, let's see the data here. So this is the ID. So logos light. Okay. So image will be specifically, sorry. So let's give it a specifically dot logos. So let's do optional chaining here. If logos exist, so this is the meaning of optional chaining. If the logos exist, we get the right key from that particular object. So logos will be an object, as you can see. So logos here will be an object. It will have two properties, dark and light. So if the logos property exists, we'll get the light property or the light key out of it. Let's close this. Let's add some alt text. Otherwise, it will give error. Let's say specific league image. Also add another span tag. Let's give it the name. Just giving the name abbreviation as well as just copy this abbreviation. Let's see how it looks. It's not show, the image is not showing up. Let's just refresh first. So yeah, data is being returned. So where we are console logging, we just need to set the data here, set specifically instead of console logging. So this will fix our issue. Yeah. So as you can see that the data is being rendered now. So let's style the specific leak data. I'll give it add a CSS for it. So let's import the CSS file. So import.
Hey Pranav, sorry to interrupt you, but like we are
I'll be
almost on time. Like we have
sure.
exceeded time,
I'll
so
just
it will be great if
wind
you
up
can wrap
the
it up.
specific. Yeah, I'll wrap it up with the specific leak component. That is the final component
Yeah.
that we'll do today. So let's just import the CSS for it and add some basic styling here. So dot specifically. So I had set a class here, as you can see. Specifically, let's just copy it, paste it here. We can give a display of selects. Let's say flex direction to be within the row, the content, space evenly, and let's align items. Center. Let's also give a border, let's say 10 pixel, border black, and with the card component we can give a let's say width to be 90 view width. See how it looks. Yeah. So this is how our specific leak looks. So it's a bit to the left. So let's say row. Okay. Let's also give some margins. So let's give auto here. So this looks much better as you can see. So we can go back to the leagues as well. I just add some styling to the text and font. Let's say family. Let's say sans serif, and just give it a font size of around 5 view height. Okay, this is too much. Let's go to view height. Let's go last styling, and you can just grab the image and give it a size of, grab the image tag, give it a height of around 100 pixels. Let's give it 5 view height. Yeah, this looks much better. So this is our final application from the API. As you can see that all the leads are being printed out, and with this we can just go to the specific lead. The data shows up. We can go back. So with this API you can do a lot. There is also a standards standings as well as a seasons parameter that you can explore by yourself. As I told you that you can just use this use params hook along with the named param. So this will give you the ID in the URL, and you can basically route it to whichever component you want and get the link ID using the use params hook. So yeah, we'll wrap up the session here. I hope you enjoyed the session. I'll just add all my links in the chat as well, the documentation links as well. So I'll give it to Raghav and he can put the documentation links for the React router as well as the context in the chat. Just give you all the documentation links for references, and I'll also put up the, so this is the Git React session kickoff. I'll just upload all the code in there in case you want to check the code. So I'll say git add and commit. So let's say the final version, or we can say the, let's say a feature was add specific big component. I'll just push the data, just push all the data, and you can now see it in the repository. Yeah. So the code is uploaded. If you want to basically check the code, the link will be in the chat. And Raghav, please share my link tree at the end so that if people want to contact or if they want to reach out, they can always do that. Yeah. So that's about it. Thank you, DSC Amity, and thank you, Raghav, for a wonderful hosting the session wonderfully. And it was a pleasure working with DSC Amity. So I look forward to more sessions. And if anyone found this session helpful or he was able to grasp the concepts well and he wants to learn more, you can just tell me or I'll give you more resources. And thank you. We'll wind up the session today. Do reach out if you find this session helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Pranav, for such an amazing session. It was really insightful, and I have shared all your links in the chat box, and I'll
Great.
just share the link for the GitHub. So if
Yeah,
any one of you wants to connect with Pranav, do check out the link that you can see on the screen. And
perfect.
here's the GitHub link that for the session. If you want to do it after the session, feel free to go to it. Feel free to connect with Pranav and
Yeah,
make sure you follow GDSC Amity on and join our Discord. You can see it here below. So thank you so much everyone for
thank
joining.
you so
Thank
much.
you Pranav for such a
Yeah,
wonderful session. Hope you all enjoyed it and stay tuned for our next session. Thank you everyone.
great.
Bye bye.
Bye.